everybody, and welcome to CEO Chat. My name is Elsie.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Absolutely.
But we have a terrific guest. You may think that money is just money, but there's more to it than that. So actually, Joe, I have a question. It's Christi Bender, and we'll talk about that. But so, Joe, when is an accountant not an accountant?
Hell, I have no idea.
It's when she's Christi Bender.
Really?
Christi Bender of DeCampli Bender.
Yeah. Welcome, Christi.
Hi, thank you.
We'll shake later, but it's great to have you on the program. We're going to talk about accounting, but there's so much more to it than just that. So you have a tagline, your life should be deductible.
Absolutely.
I love that tagline. Start with that. What does that mean?
Well, instead of putting the little numbers in the little boxes about income and expenses the normal way, let's go find ways that your life outside of your small business or your rental property can actually become a deduction on your tax return, because the goal in my world is more vacation.
Okay.
So,
and you live this yourself.
Right.
oh yeah.
I mean, you travel all over the world. You don't have normal vacations. You have vacations like fishing for river monsters and
African
safaris.
safaris.
In Africa.
Right, on horseback.
And horseback in Clydesdales in the Moor Country.
Right, Clydesdales and the Moors of England, that was this year.
There are plenty of people out there who are slaves to their money, and we're really talking about taking
fun.
your money and putting it to work for you.
Right, so to do that, the #1 goal is get more of your money in your pocket.
That's key, right?
Right.
Okay, now here, let's take Joe as an example, because this man needs more fun in his life. There's no question about that. He's more worried about money than he should be.
Boring.
So we start with somebody. You offered a couple of suggestions right off the bat out in the waiting area before we got started. Where would you start with somebody like Joe?
So Joe told me that he's got his own small business. So we want to first do an entity analysis, because now we've got this cool new QBI thing, and we can get more deductions from the government than ever before, straight up in the tax code. And that's kind of straightforward, but a lot of accountants don't yet have their head wrapped around tax reform.
Okay.
So we want to do that right away to make sure that maybe just by changing your entity, we can put another, I don't know, 10, 20,000 in your pocket.
Really?
Just by changing your entity.
Okay.
That's important. Now, we're coming up on, he has to get that done before the end of the year, right, in order for it to qualify for next tax year?
It depends on what entity he already is.
Okay.
Something we may not be able to do this year, but we could do first thing next year.
Okay.
Some things we can do retroactive. It would depend on what we're moving from or to.
Okay.
So for people watching our program, we've just come up with one really good reason to give you a call. Keep going. This is terrific.
Right. Entity analysis is a big one.
Okay.
Then you get into some of the other things. So when we want to save taxes, we can use the tax code.
Right.
We can use shifting your income to a different tax bracket.
Okay.
We can use timing. Do we want to have it taxed today or way down the road? Because it's better to keep your money now, right? Or we can use products. You know, there are certain things with your investment products and insurance products that can be tax-saving vehicles.
Okay.
So when I look at the tax code, I read the code looking for green lights instead of looking for red lights.
Looking for red lights, which is probably what most accountants do.
Right.
I mean, most accountants are so worried about not getting you into any trouble.
That's it.
That they neglect the other opportunity side of the equation, which is what is it out there that I could proactively do that actually puts me in a position like the one you're describing?
Sure, like I have over 100 tax strategies. And when most accountants say, well, we're going to sit down and we're going to do tax planning, what they really mean is we're going to do a projection.
Okay.
And they're just going to tell you how much you're going to owe. And maybe you should put some money in an HSA or change your 401k withholdings or, well, that's not very exciting, is it?
No, like last night's mashed potatoes. That's not exciting.
No, not good. But if I said, well, you know, what if you've got a kid in college and you're paying college tuition and he grew up like this, so he's way better at it than you.
Right.
And you hire him instead of a virtual assistant to do your social media marketing, and you pay him a reasonable salary, just like you would pay a virtual assistant.
Okay.
And he takes care of that, and he's over the age of 21, so he's a junior or senior in college, or he's doing graduate work, and he's your only employee. We may be able to make over $5,000 of his college tuition a business expense for you.
Which saves a lot of money.
Which is an example of how we make your life deductible.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Right, a great example of it, in fact. That's, I mean, I know there, and you say, how many tax strategies do you say you actually have?
Over 100, 113.
Over,
Okay.
so depending on how much money I make and how I make my money, all those things
Right.
determine, I tell you all that, and then you tell me what it is I can do to optimize my tax return next year, not just survive an audit from last year.
Right. Now,
Okay.
most strategies will have I's to dot and T's to cross and things you have to do because
Sure.
you want to be in compliance with the code. But the code has a lot of things it doesn't address directly, right?
Right.
Or it has a lot of things that it addresses with qualifications. So meet the qualifications, utilize the code.
Right, exactly.
Right, makes sense.
Shift income from your tax bracket to your children's. Or maybe you're supporting your parents. Is there a way that your parents can help you in your business so you can legitimately hire your parents to take
I see
care
what
of
you mean.
answering the
Yes, sure.
phones, take care of your schedule, take care of some
Right.
administrative things, do some marketing for you?
Which
There's
makes
lo-
more sense than just giving them money if they need it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Because then that really doesn't benefit
That
anybody.
doesn't make your life
Deductible.
deductible.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Sure does.
Exactly.
And you know, but a lot of people I think just get so screwed up, or they get so twisted around the axle of balancing the books and filing the returns and all that stuff. They're afraid of their money
Right.
in a lot of
Boring.
ways. So
Oh,
what you're
right.
really doing is getting people into a kind of a courageous state where they proactively say, money is something I could use. I can make my
Right.
money work.
Right. So, and that's where people are very intimidated by the government. And I say to a lot of small business owners, it's not if you get audited, it's when.
Right, yeah.
And I go, but all an audit is the IRS saying, we don't understand where this number came from.
Right.
Can you please explain it to me?
And if you can explain it, audit survived, issue solved, off
Money
the races.
saved.
Right.
Money
Free
saved.
vacation.
Which is, okay, all right, so then you're not, when is an accountant not an accountant? When she is a tax strategist.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Which is a level higher, really, than a lot of people typically have with their experience in accounting.
Right, right. Most tax people put little numbers in little boxes about what already happened.
Right.
Right.
I really have no interest in doing that. I do it because it's the beginning of the story. But what we want to do is look forward and plan next year's numbers
Okay.
instead of reporting history.
Well,
So with my best clients, I see them on a somewhat of an ongoing basis because if I'm going to make your life deductible, I need to know what's happening in it. Bringing me a pile of W-2s and investment statements at the end of the year didn't tell me anything about your life. So how can I make it deductible?
you really can't make it deduct. You have to know what it, well,
Right.
now actually, Joe, that gets us into who introduced us to Christi.
Okay.
Because we would never have met Christi if it weren't for Bill Morrow, who was a guest on the program a couple of months ago.
Right.
Empirical Consulting Services, and I know he's a client of yours,
Right.
as are many of his partners. And he said, you really want to talk to Christi because it's not just about your money, it's about the way you live your life. We're starting to probe that kind of boundary between accounting and tax strategy, and what you really do that's beneficial to the clients you serve. So why don't we talk a little bit about you as a coach, and how
Right,
do you
so-
do that? How do you approach that?
Well, when I sit down with a new client, and I'll tell them this in the beginning, an hour from now, when I look at all your papers, I'm going to know more about you in some areas than your best friends, your siblings, your children, and your parents. So it's a really intimate relationship. You know, your money is something you just don't talk about with
Right.
everybody.
Sure.
So it's it's kind of a sacred little world because for me to be able to help you the most, I really need to know a lot of things about you.
Sure.
But the more I know about you, the more I can bring into the money conversation. I personally really believe very strongly in personal responsibility and self-sufficiency. Because I think that anytime someone else is in charge of your money, whether it's how you earn it, how you spend it, what you're allowed or not allowed to do with it, you've sold your freedom of choice to that person.
To somebody else, exactly.
To somebody else.
Right. So we have to now, to help you make the best choices for you, we have to discuss your personal values.
Oh, and that changes the conversation.
Right, sure.
So
Whole
I'm not,
different
I'm not
game.
just talking about being a victim of the IRS anymore. Now I'm talking about how I can manage my money so that I get the most from it. And the IRS is really almost like a side player. They don't matter. They become irrelevant.
We're just reporting to them after the fact.
Well, and see, that's such a change in perspective, and I think that's so important and so powerful. I don't know anybody else who does it quite like that.
How did you develop this, Christi? It's such a great idea.
Well, I came out of the regular boring accounting history, and I was bored.
Okay.
So I don't like that. And
You seem like the kind of person who can get bored.
yeah, so I was bored, and I kind of think everybody else that looks, no wonder people say going to the accountant's boring, you know. I call it only one step above the dentist,
Okay.
you know. But, and so I really am all about living life to the fullest. And like I have my own personal manifesto, and it's kind of like the buck stops here. And let your light shine, do what you do best, and money is fun. You know, get rid of this idea that money is dirty. No, money is fun. But it's only fun if you use it in alignment with your values, and if you earn it in a way that feels good. So that once you kind of get into that value thing, now we've opened up how's it coming in and where's it going, and in between, how do we give less of it to the government? How do we invest it more wisely? How do we use it to protect our loved ones? You know, that's part of the product side of things.
Right.
Sure, okay.
So you're thinking about all these different things, and that requires so much more than, can I mail in my documents, or do I have to have a meeting with you?
How do I upload these? I'm having a problem with the upload.
Yeah.
That's like the least of your worries when you think about it.
All that is reporting history. And so once we start having these discussions and people find out they can have more in their pocket, now they get kind of excited.
Sure, absolutely.
They go, well, how do I get even more?
No.
And then we start talking about profit first coaching. We start talking about utilizing your natural behavior to make better decisions without a spreadsheet. Not that spreadsheets can't be important, but
Sure.
I don't like them.
They're a tool.
They're a tool.
Yeah, don't get lost in those cells.
Exactly.
You know, those cells are tools. They're not, your money isn't in that spreadsheet.
Right.
Your money should be working for you in other ways. We need to take a break. There's so many connections I'd like to try to help make between you and the people who watch our program. For me, the most important thing is, you may already have an accountant. You might keep that accountant.
Sure.
There could be a great reason why, in addition to the person who's currently doing your accounts, you might want to talk to Christi Bender about how maybe you can put your money to work in more creative ways. So you're not talking about displacing an existing accountant. You could be working with somebody's existing
Right, so sometimes there's another accountant, but I come in and do a tax plan.
You do the tax plan.
And I help implement the plan, but that other accountant who he really is good at, technically competent, likes doing the numbers in the boxes, by all means keep that.
That's, we're going to take a break. If your brother-in-law is currently doing your accounting, you don't have to fire him. And you can benefit by learning about what Christi does. We'll be back with more CEO Chat and Christi Bender after these messages.
Stick around, everybody. We're coming right back.
Yeah, you bet. This is great.
It is.
You're taking notes.
Basically, we earn more and pay less.
RCBC students are accepted at Rowan University after graduation.
And get a bachelor's degree for around $30,000.
Online and Mount Laurel students get a 15% Rowan University tuition discount.
And have many scholarship opportunities.
So you earn more and pay even less.
Rowan College of Burlington County.
Your path to success.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to strengthen our service members? What does it take to let them know that we stand behind them, wherever they are? What does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? And what does it take to prepare them for their future when their service to the nation is complete? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Share a message today at force.uso.org.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
want? I want a home. I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Choosing Medicare coverage can be a very confusing and complicated process. Help is just a phone call away. 856-226-4800. As a licensed insurance agent, I'll assist you in making an informed and confident decision on a Medicare plan that meets your needs, lifestyle, and budget. Call me today for a free, no obligation Medicare benefits consultation. 856-226-4800.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it.
Casinos by the ocean. Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches, solid rock, and everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey.
Burlington County College.
Is now Rowan College of Burlington County.
Still the same great faculty.
At a community college ranked top 50 in the nation.
Basically, we earn more and pay less.
RCBC students are accepted at Rowan University after graduation.
And get a bachelor's degree for around $30,000.
Online and Mount Laurel students get a 15% Rowan University tuition discount.
And have many scholarship opportunities.
So you earn more and pay even less.
Rowan College of Burlington County.
Your path to success.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to strengthen our service members? What does it take to let them know that we stand behind them, wherever they are? What does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? And what does it take to prepare them for their future when their service to the nation is complete? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Share a message.
Well, welcome back to CEO Chat, everybody. My name is Al Cini.
I'm still Joe Asimendi.
And this former criminal, his name is Joe Asimendi.
Nice to see you, Mel.
What a pleasure to see you.
As usual.
So go ahead. I know you've got a question. You want to know how you can get started.
Christy, this is fascinating. If I want to come to you and become your client, how do we start?
The best way to start is to go to the website, click on schedule an appointment, and book a 15-minute chat for me.
Just 15 minutes?
15 minutes, just so that we can find out that I don't rub you the wrong way. Because not everybody likes my manner. I'm really direct.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I find it too.
But that really direct, I mean, it's like we were talking during the break. Sometimes a direct approach is the approach that people need, even if they might find it somewhat uncomfortable. And by the way, you're a pleasant person with a nice smile, so it's never going to be that painful.
No, but a lot of times what we have to talk about is something that people have been in denial about, or it's causing friction at home.
Sure.
And we have to sit there and go, okay, let's just get all the cards out on the table and figure out where we really are and where we need to go. And that's not always a pleasant conversation while it's happening. But man, does everybody feel better when it's done.
It's a gigantic weight lifted off when it's finished. So 15 minutes on the phone for free to confirm that we're good fits for each other.
Right.
Then maybe the first meeting is with my documentation, 60 to 90 minutes you were saying, which is actually pretty quick.
Right, so a lot of times I'm really big on education, and so many people have a tax return and they don't know what it means. They don't understand how to read it. It's a story. And so I sit down with the client and I say, I'm going to read your story out loud. And you get to tell me where I don't see a piece of it or what I don't understand. And I read their story, and they're shocked by what I can see. Like, oh my God, I didn't know that you knew that. Like, I didn't know this said that.
Wow.
And that prompts a lot of questions, and that helps me get to, this is how we're going to make your life deductible. But as we go through that, my real goal is let me take the fear out of this thing called taxes. So your taxes are you know, it's an obligation to society. We live here. We
Right.
need to do our part to support society and drink clean water and drive on roads and all these other things. And so, but you don't need to do more than your part.
Right.
So that's part of my personal responsibility. You got to do your part.
Right.
We're not filing a tax return
We're
that's
not-
fraudulent.
We're never going to lie on this return.
No,
I will
we're
not
not.
help you hide money. That's not going to happen.
No, I don't go there.
Right.
Go to somebody else for that.
Right.
I usually say they have bars on the windows.
Yeah,
go to them.
Go to them.
Go to them, not to me.
You don't want to be in that room. Okay, good.
No, and so you come in and we do
Right.
that. We talk a bunch about life.
Okay.
You know, because if I'm going to make your life deductible, I need to know what's happening in it. And I start to get an idea about, are you a timid person or are you an aggressive person? Are you somebody that needs a lot of knowledge or just wants to be told what to do? And then somewhere in that conversation, the pain point will come out.
Okay.
You know, I got a cash flow problem. Okay, maybe we need profit first. I've got issues at home with, you know, between my wife and I, my husband and I, we don't see eye to eye on money, okay? So then we fall into marital money coaching,
Okay.
and we do some of that. We have some discussions around kitchen tables about home finances and values that conflict.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
And when we start to get to know each other at that level and that value thing that I mentioned to you on the break comes up, then you can really help people start living their life in alignment so that they're not constantly trying to stay out of trouble or please somebody.
Okay.
They just get to go down the middle, and it feels so much easier because there's that much less friction.
Take a big burden off your back.
I was thinking as you were describing it, it is the removal of friction. I mean, what you're really doing is making a process that could be very bumpy and painful, and you're making it smoother.
Right. And the tax return a lot of times is where it starts because people have to get it done. They
Right.
don't understand. So they come in for that. But the reason that they get excited and the reason that they come back and we talk, like Bill Morrow that you mentioned, is because we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Right.
So now we can talk
about the fun stuff.
the fun stuff and the important stuff and how are we going to elevate your standard of living.
Right.
Because now we just uncovered money or eliminated stress or told you don't do this or you have a clear process for what you need to do. And being able to have somebody to talk to about money isn't something you can do easily in our society.
No, money is a flashpoint, and it can trigger a lot of conflict, and that's why sometimes it's helpful to have somebody on the outside looking in, because you tend to get lost in the moves you're trying to make, and I can see where that would be. But now, we're talking about counseling individuals, but you also work with couples. Talk about couples dynamics and how you manage that.
So I love the small business owner. That's who I love working with the most. Well, most small business owners have another half at home
Right.
who's not always on board with this small business thing
Okay.
for whatever reason. And so now we've got an extra layer of conflict, and you guys have your own small businesses, and you know how important having emotional support is to help you do your best work
It's critically important.
at work and to help you stretch into some areas to grow that might be a little scary. So if we can get the home fires on the same page where everybody's talking the same language and we got a team at home, not just your team at work, now you as the business owner get support from everywhere and you get to elevate your whole game.
And so you work with both members of the couple. You'll work with both the husband and the wife.
Yeah.
Both partners, because it could be same-sex couples. You work with them to see if it's really it's a form of couples counseling where money is kind of the subject matter.
Right. That's the pain point that we're pulling in.
That was what you're doing, and you're saying most of the conflict that happens in a relationship between partners in that kind of a situation comes from arguing about money.
Well, you know, people argue about money, kids, sex, and in-laws.
Right.
If you took 4 of them off the table, we're down to why didn't you pick up the socks and how come you didn't empty the dishwasher?
Things get much easier then.
Right.
How do you deal with regular partnerships when you have 2 partners? Is that a different
Right.
dynamic?
So if I have partners in a business, a lot of times you've got one who's conservative and that's the doer. And they want to know the facts. They need to measure it. They're the high fact finder. And then you got the idea guy and the creative
Visionary
person.
and the creative guy.
Exactly. Well, they have got diametrically different ideas about how money should be spent, how we should invest it, how much we need to keep in the coffers to make sure we're safe. And so that ends up going back to the accounting thing, and I may do different entity structures or layered entities to eliminate that friction.
Okay.
Because all partnerships end. Death, disability, disagreement, divorce, somehow the partnership ends. Well, the more things we can take out of the pot that can end up, you know, boiling over and creating, I'm out of here, the longer the partnership can stay together really well and healthy, and everybody can prosper. Not just the partners, but all the employees they're supporting, and all their clients that rely on them for that service, and all the vendors that help support the business. So if you can keep the partnership together, you're supporting way more than two people.
You're supporting a broader economy of people who depend on that relationship being in harmony. And which means now I'm thinking about you not as an accountant, but kind of part shaman, part Sherpa. I mean, you know, in a way, it's becoming almost like a Zen experience. But before people think it's all kind of crazy, the reality is you do have serious experience. You said you were in forensic accounting for a long time?
Right, I was a forensic accountant for a civil litigation attorney.
Okay, so you've got a background in digging into the deep stuff, pulling out the facts, and then presenting those facts back to people, even if it may be kind of an uncomfortable place to take them.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that was all, we were in a lot of courtroom situations. So we, you know, you have to nail it down. You can't just kind of nice your way through it.
So, so that makes you a wartime consigliere. We were talking about that during the break. If I want somebody to help me with my money, I want somebody who can take me through it in a way that doesn't flinch. And you take an unflinching view of the money situation, and you help me become more comfortable with it.
And sometimes it's in business, sometimes it's in a vendor situation, sometimes it's in a regular couple situation where we're hitting the marriage is falling apart, and we're going to get divorced, and we want to keep as much money in our pockets, because even if you're divorced, you're still a family if you had children.
You still have responsibilities.
So we need to go, how are we going to keep the money away from the government? And how are we going to equitably deal with this? Because just like how I said with the business thing, when we've got employees and customers and vendors, if you're a family going through divorce, you've got children and in-laws. And so you always have to think beyond, oh, here's my 1040. I mean, really? That's a pretty narrow view.
That's like the least of it.
Nobody's life is that narrow.
So you mentioned in your office you have several boxes of tissues, because sometimes these discussions become emotional.
They do, and as I tell my clients, while I do coaching and I say I do, you know, therapy in the office sometimes, I don't get you every week for an hour.
Right, it's not.
I might get you a couple hours a year. So if we're hitting something that's going somewhere important and it gets a little emotional, here are the tissues, but we're just going to keep right on going.
We have to keep going. We can't stop.
And as crazy as this sounds, if we've hit a point that there are tissues involved, we've now uncovered the door to get to where we really want to go, because we're no longer hiding.
Take all those layers away.
Which means that's a breakthrough.
It's a breakthrough.
That's a good thing. It's something you definitely want.
Right, and now we come up with a plan, we put in an implementation guide, we put together a timetable, and we walk through it.
You know, I'm figuring that Christi, the people at the IRS find out that Christi Bender's your accountant, and they immediately drop the case because they just don't want to. I think we're coming up with that. That's great. I mean, this is the person you want to go to the IRS.
I need her. I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, you definitely do.
Best day of my life, Christi. Thank you so much for being here.
We're up at that part of our program where we get to tell everybody how to reach you. So, Christi, go ahead and look at your camera right there and tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
So the best way to get a hold of me is to go to the website, and it's DeCampli Bender CPA.com. And phone numbers are there for me and my partner. You can go way down to the bottom of the page. There's a bright green button that says schedule an appointment. Go ahead and schedule a 15-minute chat, and I will meet you on the phone. Or we will do Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom.
A lot of Zoom conferences.
Sure.
For people who are watching our program, we have a pretty good idea what situation you might be in, and to call Christi. I think there's so many reasons to give you a call. I mean, everybody out there who is thinking about planning ahead and wanting to get on top of the new tax code. That's another thing we didn't get to talk about a lot, but you want somebody on your side who knows what the new tax code actually means. And obviously you've done your homework on that. So
Absolutely.
Christi's the person to call. Thank you all for joining us on CEO Chat. My name is Alcini.
I'm still Joe Osamendi.
You better stay that way.
I hope so.
And yeah, we wish you all a great weekend. Thank you, Christi, for joining us. It was great.
Oh, this was
Be
fun.
sound. Christi, thanks so much.
Fun. It's great.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Excellent.